Welcome back to another episode of the Distil-Nation NZ Podcast. My name is Tom, and I'm joined as always by my friend Cameron.
It's a new episode, it's a new year, let's get into it.
I'm just checking really quickly to make sure that our mics are both on, and yes, they are. They are both on.
We've played that game before where we do the intro only to realise that something wasn't recording.
And one day I'll play that blooper back for everybody, where I think we went 5 minutes or something, and we recorded it, and then I had this horrible realization, and I think you laughed for about 3 minutes or something like that. Yeah, I've kept that clip because I just think it's so funny. Yeah,
that checks out.
But it's been a little bit of a break. We had a break for Christmas and New Year's, and we're back at it. We've already got a few episodes lined up for the year.
The end of last year was really exciting, getting to sit down, having some great conversations. So there's already plenty to look forward to. But before we launch into the new year, new conversations, we thought this is the great opportunity to have a wee bit of a look back, bit of a reflection, and then do a wee bit of forecasting and having a look at the year ahead.
Yeah, and when you told me that's what we were going to do for this, and I had a look back on episodes from last year, I just couldn't believe how, last year, I just couldn't believe what episodes we had done. There was a lot of them, first of all. Mm-hmm. The first one was Racketeer, which to me was ages ago, and Longshot Distilling, and that just felt like ages ago, though. But that was last year, so yeah.
It was our first episode for 2024, and I'm going to open this up. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was favourite conversation / favourite episode, and theirs was mine.
Yeah?
I had a lot of fun, like you, going back through our previous episodes. Who had we talked to? What conversations did we had? And genuinely had the best time. But I'm picking that conversation as my favourite conversation for 2024 for two reasons.
Okay.
One, I don't think I laughed as much in any other conversation.
Yeah.
Leslie and Adam are good people, and they're funny people.
Yeah.
So down to earth. They were very open about the mistakes that they'd made. Were very, very clear, like, oh, here we didn't know what we were doing, but we muddled through and we got there anyway. So just for their openness, their candor, their honesty, and their humor, it was just such a fun episode to be a part of.
Yeah, it really was. Actually, that's a really good point. It was because it was in here. Yep. It was late at night, and we just sort of got to a few drinks down, and Adam and Leslie just brought the fever. It was great.
And that comes to reason number two why it was one of my favorite conversations is that I was expecting their core release. I'd already had their verbena at that point, but I knew that they were coming in with their dry and spiced, which I'd not had. So I was expecting 3 top gins and have a good time. Mm-hmm. And then they kept pulling bottles out of that bag. And there was this whole range of fruit gins that I didn't know existed, and each of them had a great story. The ethos behind each of theirs, where like, hey, we want to get this fruit as locally as possible, and their motivation for doing that. So yeah, I was expecting to go in, try 3, one of which I'd already had, and then I think I'll need to recheck the tape, but I think there may well have been 7 or 8 in that lineup.
There's quite a few, yeah.
And we hit stop on recording, and then we were all like, okay, let's have some water and some food, and we're going to have a break and just continue this conversation before any of us
That's right,
to go home.
I forgot about that, yeah.
What about you? Favorite conversation or episode from the previous year?
That was definitely a highlight. But I did really enjoy our chat with Vaughn from Good Bones.
Yes.
Yeah, Vaughn was really interesting. The whole story around it was interesting. He's just such a genuine person. To me, that was one of our most relaxed, laid back, and out of that, like Vaughn and I have stayed connected, and we've been working together through the Juniper Collective and stuff. So I'm just really glad that the podcast started that conversation and it's kept it going. And I'm just really excited to see what else he's coming up with. And hopefully we'll talk to him again. I'm sure we will. We'll get him down.
I'm sure we will, because he's one that had lots of things in the pipeline in terms of products that he was working on. So yes, absolutely.
Yep.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head there, where We do some prep ahead of conversations. We don't go in knowing completely nothing, because that doesn't lead to a good time. But equally, it's not so uptight that we send through a list of questions and say, all right, well, these are the areas that we have to cover, or stuff like that. And that episode with Vaughan was a great example of just a chill guy having a relaxed conversation, and getting some real good gems out of it in terms of the struggles that he's had with when you're trying to distill from bread and baked good products, and yes, absolutely, that was a really good one.
He had been real nice to send us some of his products to sample as well, which was fun. The vodka was amazing, but then that coffee liqueur was so good. And what was it, the blue vodka? Was it the blue? What did he call it? The blue something?
Blue raspberry.
Blue raspberry. Yeah, Kool-Aid vodka. That was amazing. And then the only one we didn't get to try in that was the lemon one, which I have since tried, and it's amazing as well. And
he's got that in the shop now.
We got the sample of it. I don't know if we have any left as far as stock, but yeah, there'll be some. And it's amazing. He just redid his labels on his bottles too.
Yes, I've seen that on Instagram.
They look proper. He did a great job. So props, Vaughn. Yeah, good job.
Props to Vaughn.
And team. I'm sure there's more than Vaughn there.
If we're doing... So Racketeer was my highlight, but if I can have one runner-up...
Yep.
And again, this was another example of, man, did this only happen last year? And that was our second conversation with Anthony around the peated Divergence release.
Yeah, that was special. Yeah.
One, that he came to us to ask us to help with getting the word out there about this new thing, the new release, the fact that they'd never done a peated whiskey before that was really special. But also, too, the follow-up, where on the back of that sample bottle were the tasting notes that I'd written, and then he graciously allowed me to buy bottles ahead of everybody else so that I could pour his whiskies at my next event. Personal was a real personal highlight for me. Having my tasting notes on the back of a bottle, like, big tick. That's a bucket list moment there.
Yeah. Hey, congrats. I'm sure we could set that up, Cameron. I don't know if I got a follow-up, but my follow-up would probably be the chat we had with Ashley before I took over the Juniper Collective, because that was sort of not only was it a fun announcement, but it was also a bit of a learning session for me, and like it was kind of the first time I got to sit in like my shop and learn from the old owner, and it was a special moment,
Yeah, I took a bit of a backseat in that conversation, and I'm okay with that because yes, it did mark this handover and the birth of something new with Spirit and Spoke, and what you've done with the place since then, and walking that tightrope of balancing Juniper Collective, which has among spirit lovers very much become it's become an icon. And Ashley's put in a lot of work getting it to that point where if you love gin, if you love New Zealand spirits, that you would, go there. And that tightrope that you've managed to walk between honouring that legacy while also building something new, bringing in all of these other New Zealand products and really making it more than a gin boutique and into something that tries to honour New Zealand spirits makers from around the Motu, you're doing an incredible job. Well done.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. I mean, if anybody doesn't know, Spirit and Spoke is the new side of the brand that we've given to the Juniper Collective, which is for all other spirits besides the gin. So it didn't seem fair to keep the Juniper Collective and pull in a whiskey, which has nothing to do with Juniper. But so Spirit and Spoke is the whiskey, rum, vodka, liqueur side of the Juniper Collective. Yeah.
Now, before we head into our other categories, I've got 2 glasses on the table, and this was an exciting moment for me because usually, as the distiller and as the boutique owner, you are the one that you usually provide the spirits. Here, I have provided these. And I'll tell you, these are the only hints that I'm going to give you.
Okay.
I don't think you've had them before, so you've not tried them. And I know for a fact you don't carry them in the Juniper Collective.
Okay.
But both of them are made in New Zealand. So that was, and honestly, for me to be able to meet that criteria, something that you haven't tried, that you don't carry in the shop, and is still honouring the made in New Zealand for Distil-Nation.
Yeah.
No, I'm
That's a tall order to get two of them as well.
A very tall order as well.
Are they? Can you tell me the category they are? Or
no, I'm not gonna do that. But okay. I think we start here.
Okay.
With this pale one.
I'm going to tell you quickly that so I keep 3 bottles of whiskey on our kitchen counter. Just those are my go-to ones. The other ones I keep in the garage, and then I switch them out sometimes. But occasionally, my wife will say, "Do you want a glass of whiskey?" I say, "Yeah, just whatever you pick one." And she'll bring me one. She said, "Which one is this?" I always get it wrong. There's 3 bottles to pick from, and I always get it wrong. And they're vastly different from each other. So yeah, I will get this wrong.
Well, I mean, it's not necessary. I'm not asking you to name it because for you to ask to ask you to pick the distillery out of all of the distilleries when I'm not giving you any more information other than it's made in New Zealand.
It's
What do you think? Describe it.
Like a sweet spice. Smell myself, and then sweets. Yes, there's a sweetness to it for sure. There's a bit of almost like clove cinnamon to it, almost. Like fruit, bright sort of green apple almost.
Did you ever have juicy fruit chewing gum?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's hitting a mark. Yeah, definitely. You say that. Yeah.
Are you game enough to try and name a category, as in what kind of spirit is it?
Can I try it first?
Yeah, go for it. I will say, while he does that, it's a very, very pale, I want to say white peach kind of faint tinge of gold, but yes, it's...
I mean, I would say it's a whiskey, probably. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely different, though. It's
Yes.
missing some standard characteristics. That's why I was almost leaning to a rum. I was going to say rum for a second, but then I thought, oh. But yeah, it's not missing per se, and as in there's something wrong with it. I'm saying it's different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, what are we dealing with here?
Now, do you want to try and give it a shake and give me a rough ABV?
$43.
Okay. Whiskey, 43. And I'll be guilty of leading the witness here, but I think... Now, of course, I know what it is, but looking at both the colour, I would describe this as perhaps more spirit-forward, which would suggest that it is on the younger side. I'm not picking up as much wood influence there, so I would certainly be picking it as a younger whiskey. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
With me having lead you?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's missing. It was missing that barrel influence for me to say it was to be sure it was a whiskey. That's where I was coming from with that. Yeah. Is it Rifters?
Oh no way! It is.
Oh my god! I can't believe I got that right.
I didn't. I wasn't even asking you to guess what it was because I thought you wouldn't be able to do that. But yes, it is indeed the Rifters. What's that? Their Royal
Burn.
And they are calling it a single malt whiskey, which tells you that it is at least 2 years.
Yep.
But it can't be much more than that.
No.
You said 43. It's 46.
Okay.
I will admit to have getting suckered in because I think Rifters we had just had our episode with them.
Yeah.
And then I saw that they were, one, going to the Christchurch Homes show, and two, that they'd have this there. And while I'm now, how good a judge of flavour and everything else you can do when you've been given one of those tiny little cardboard shot glasses and you're standing in all the booths and everything like that. So I will admit that right there in that moment, it didn't impress me a whole lot, but I'm working with the best I can do under the circumstances. And as I'm umming and ahhing about whether or not to stump up with the cost for a 350ml bottle, they said it won't be available on our website. It will only be available through the cellar door. It's here today only.
I've tried to get it in the shop too, and even though I carry everything else they have, they won't sell me that.
So I might have been suckered in to buying it, given that I wouldn't be able to get it anywhere else. But yes, this is the Rifters Royal Burn. Yes, it is young, but
but there's a lot of bright, like, fruity flavor to it. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like sweet, especially.
I loved the spice notes that you were giving. Juicy fruit chewing gum. There's almost like a candy floss kind of.
Yeah, I definitely get that, like, green apple. Bright green apple. And yeah, I think that's, it's really well done.
It is a progress report.
Yeah.
So this is not the finished version of what they are going to be coming out with. Like you, I definitely think there is room for improvement in terms of room to let the barrel have a bit more influence.
Yeah.
And that will certainly round it out and give it a bit more body, maybe a wee bit more texture, but certainly, I don't know, provide a balance between those lighter, fruitier notes and give it a bit more oak in there. But I think for a first taste at a progress report, I'm a fan.
Yeah, me too. That's really well done. I can't believe I got that right, actually.
Genuinely, because I made you leave the room
Yeah.
to pour these, so they were genuinely blind. Maybe I led you a wee bit too much, but yeah.
No. I mean, there's only, if I'm honest, there's only a handful of things I haven't tried, right? So if I can go through that catalog,
Process of elimination.
yeah, and figure it out. But that's really good. Good on them. Congratulations, Stu and team down in Arrowtown.
So that's our favourite episode / conversation. What was your favourite whiskey from the past year? Doesn't necessarily have to have been something that we tried on the podcast, but in terms of whiskies that were released last year, what stood out to you?
I struggled with this one. I did, and it was the last one I wrote down because I was like, oh man, I don't know. And I was trying to think, what has been new, and what did we try on the show? And it doesn't need to be that, of course. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to go a bit self-biased, and I really have been enjoying my Clarkville Crimson Red Corn whiskey. I took a bottle of that home for the holidays. I hadn't really enjoyed it up at that point because I hadn't had a chance to try it much. Like, I've been so busy until the holidays.
Right.
And so finally I got a bottle home, opened it, and I was like, wow, I actually am really enjoying that. So for me, it's probably my own, which is probably not what you want to hear. But
well, hey, look, you can admit your bias. But, I mean, also it's different.
yeah,
Nobody else is doing anything with heritage corn along those kinds of lines.
and that was one other issue I had while I was thinking about it is, I mean, I know there's a couple other whiskeys that have come out this year in New Zealand, but they didn't do anything terribly different, although they were great. They were just barley aged in used oak, and used bourbon. And I thought, they were good, but they weren't anything to scream from the mountains top of, so, yeah. I like the unique. I want to see what's New Zealand, what's Kiwi about the whiskeys, and there's some great ones out there like Waitui. It's very Kiwi,
Yes.
We've got some fun Pocono releases which are doing some Kiwi things. Codrona's now starting to to push into that area with some of theirs. But what about you? What was yours?
Yeah, I'm looking down at my notes, and I'm not sure I actually wrote anything down because, like you, I was looking through at everything and going, how do I do this? But if we go with being pleasantly surprised, going with something that was perhaps a bit of a left field, Waiheke Whiskey's Oak and Rye.
Yes. And I just was saying I finished my bottle of that last night. Really good.
Got to try that at... Was it a whiskey day or just a general spirits festival?
Yeah, it could have been a whiskey day.
I think it might have been the whiskey day at Spirit and Spoke. And yes, you've built a name for Herrick Creek, not being a straight single malt whiskey distillery. And I think it's good to see that New Zealand whiskey in general isn't so ingrained that we only do single malt and that's it.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see other distilleries experimenting with what whiskey can be in terms of grains, having a mash bill, doing all of the... It's a wee bit like, I want to say, America in reverse. America has recently ratified what it means to be an American single malt, and that's a new category for them, where distillers over there, hey, I've made a single malt. Oh, is that bourbon? No, it's made with 100% malted barley, and it's a single malt. Oh, so like Scotch? Well, not really, but so what's the mash bill? So America is going through the challenge of trying to introduce Americans to the concept of single malt whiskey. And yeah, to know that we're not... Yes, we'll have to go through a similar kind of challenge here, public education, but to know that there are other distilleries now that are introducing a mash bill and introducing other types of grains and aren't so ingrained in that idea of, okay, New Zealand whiskey is single malt and that's it.
Yep. And that's been the challenge the whole time I've seen it. Yeah, is that we just need more grains. Use them, people.
But we grow. New Zealand is fantastic for growing grains.
Exactly. There's a huge amount of barley, which we make, but the whiskey with. But then we've got the wheat, we've got the corn, we've got everything else. So yeah, I don't know.
Do you have a notable mention that isn't a Herrick Creek release?
Waiheke Cirrus 2.
Oh yes,
that one is a banger for me. That peat in there, and I can't remember the barrel, but. Yeah, that's a good one for me. Because Moss is really nice. We love Moss, obviously, but Cirrus, I think it might be a wine barrel of some sort, with Cirrus too. I think it might be Pinot Noir maybe or something. But it's taking that peat to a new level with like this fruity smoke, and to me it's a thick one, and I enjoy that one. Yeah.
Yep. I'll go on an... If I start just naming, I'm going to go on an incomplete list and leave some out, which I don't really want to do.
Well, that's the problem, mate. Yeah.
But if you had to nail me down on one, I think it's the Divergence Pinot Noir cask, and it's a younger one. I was never really the biggest fan of their virgin French oak. I think maybe it's just French oak that I don't like it that much. But when I tried that, and it was chocolate-coloured raisins, but it was thick and had texture and packed with body and character there, I'm like, if this is going to become your new entry level, if this is going to become your new starting point, sign me up.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were really impressed with that one.
Yes.
I think we did a tasting for that one, right, at the shop, and a lot of people were surprised. They said like that wine really came out at them, and it wasn't in the usual sort of stale red wine sort of fashion.
No,
you know? It was
no,
sweet
no.
and full bodied. Yeah, they did a good job with that one. And I do understand it's sticking around. I understand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good one. There's quite a few good ones, eh?
Yes, and that's. But I mean,
there's no bad ones, really.
We'll be here all day. If
Yeah.
we're trying to, and then that defeats the purpose of having a highlight.
Even the ones that aren't terribly exciting are still great, you know, and they're still New Zealand whiskey. It's just they're not doing anything terribly exciting, you know. But hey, that's fine.
Do you want to do your favorite gin or rum? And the fact that we're even talking about a favorite or a highlight rum, and there is more than two that we can be choosing from.
Yeah.
That to me is remarkable for how far New Zealand rum as a category has come in a very short space of time.
I was going to do gin, but since
Okay.
you talked up rum that much, let's do rum. Mine was definitely Last Light. Their whole lineup was really great, but the pot still, the 100% pot still, cask strength, 56%. Whoa.
Preach!
Yeah. What a thick, beautiful rum that was. Like, that is what a rum needs to be, you know? Like, that to me was just hit that nail, bam! You got it in one time. It's like, yeah.
Yes, and at the
I do
rum
have a little
day-
bit if you want to try some.
Yeah, that was at the rum day, and I tried some of the others and thought, yeah, they're good, they're good, and then got to that, and I mean, yes, it is a higher ABV, but that's not the reason why I nearly fell on the floor. It was just because, all of the flavour was ramped up. Forget 11; it was all ramped all the way up to 12.
Yeah.
And you swallowed, and then you still go, oh, that's that flavor's not going anywhere.
That's what she said.
Can we do? It's 2025. I don't think we can do that anymore.
Oh, whoops.
That, all things said, was my runner-up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I love it for all the reasons that you love it. But I have to go, I think, when you fall in love for the first time. And it wasn't from the rum day, it was from the Spirits Weekend.
I think I know the one.
It's National Distilling
Yeah.
Company's Golden Rum.
Port Ahuriri.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a standout spirit for me on the day. And I remember saying, man, this is good. I'm impressed. And then 2 days later, seeing their announcement that it was being picked up by Air New Zealand and was going to be their rum of choice on all international flights. And I stood there and I said, yeah, called it. I knew it was good.
Yeah. And that is a great one. It's a great go-to. I've been trying to get people, there's some bars that come to us to ask for like a good New Zealand rum, and I just say, that one right there, take that.
Yeah, look, we are spirits drinkers.
Yeah.
And so going for the 100% pot still cask strength,
That's the geek in us.
that's
Yeah,
the geek in
spirits
us.
geek, yeah.
But that's not the rum that you pour for a friend who's like, hey, so I don't really know much about rum. Where do I go?
Well, let you try this.
Bang.
56%
That's
full
gonna
of oils.
smack your
Come
head
on.
right off. Bang. Like, yeah.
No, yeah, you're definitely right. That NDC one is really good. That's probably the most popular rum in the shop, and it looks good, tastes good, it's a good price.
Beautiful, yeah, exactly. That it doesn't break the bank. It's a beautiful bottle. I love what they're doing with the label. Just all round.
Speaking of rums, though, recently I just got my hands on Dancing Sands 7-year-old rum. Have you seen they released that?
No.
Yeah, so Dancing Sands Gin Distillery up in Golden Bay, and when they opened the distillery, it was one of the first things they made was this big batch of rum, and they set it down. 7 years old now, and they've released it at $100 a bottle, 700 mils. That's really, 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 really good. I've only had like one little glass of it when it came into the shop like last week, but we should talk some more about that one in the future because, exciting.
And I've also seen our previous conversation with Igor from
Bayside.
and he has found some native New Zealand yeast, and he is making a new crop that's going to be coming out. Well, he's distilling it this year, 2025, but he's one that's really leaning into that idea of what a New Zealand rum can be, and he's found a native New Zealand yeast that he's going to start distilling with. So once that is ready to go, I think that will be a conversation worth revisiting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've got to keep our eyes on the rum scene because there's definitely a few around.
We're looking forward, looking back, looking everywhere.
Yeah. Gin. Did you have a favourite gin?
I did.
What was it?
Again, I was going back through what's something that... Look, we've had plenty of solid dry gin, London dry style, and there are so many being made in New Zealand that just tick that box of this is solid. But I figured for this, I had to go with something that blew me away, took me by surprise. Wow, I didn't know that you could do this with gin. And for me, that was, and again, bearing in mind we were doing that at about 9 o'clock in the morning, is the Rifter's Blue Gold.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Because I don't think I've had another gin since that has used Szechuan pepper as a botanical. And so it was out there, and it had that mix of sweet, savoury, a bit of spice in terms of like, oh, that's a bit hot. So much going on, and yet still very much a gin.
Yeah.
Worked well. You could have it neat. You could add tonic, and those flavours all still came through and didn't get lost. That, to me, was a standout in terms of a wow.
Yeah. It was really good. All the Rifters were really good. The Quartz.
Yes.
Quartz was almost the one I wrote down.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed the Quartz. But the one I did pick was a Cardrona one that I don't know if you tried, and it was a 3-year-old barrel-aged gin.
I don't think I have tried that one.
And it was one of those ones that I can't remember if they told me it was either forgotten about or they just left it to see what would happen. And 3 years is not usually what they do. They usually leave it for about 10 months.
Yeah.
And so 3 years, this looked like a whiskey in the bottle. Yeah, it was dark, and I believe it was Pinot Noir. And the flavor in that was a whiskey gin. It was amazing.
Yeah, like I was at that point. Does it taste like gin?
Like it did. Like certainly the botanicals were there, but then it was just enveloped by the wine cask, and you got this, those caramels and stuff like that really starting to come in. Because sometimes with barrel aged gin, you get a little bit of barrel, just like the slightest bit, but it still needs more time to sort of push what a barrel is going to do to it, right?
I mean, says the whiskey lover, but
yes. But at 3 years old, wow, like the juniper's right there. You still get the rose hip, and then there's this beautiful like surroundingness of barrel, and I was like, yeah, this is 100% for me. I bought a bottle the day I tried it for our anniversary last year because it was amazing, and I love it. And I hope they do more of those older gins because that was special. Yeah.
Wow.
My wife loved it too, and she's not a whiskey drinker.
Is she normally a gin drinker?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, loves gin. But she really enjoyed that. So,
while we're talking about things that I've missed out on, I'm still gutted. I was sick. I had a really bad throat infection, and I was not able to make your episode with Matt Thompson. I loved catching up on it when I was editing the videos for social media because you guys had a great chat. But to this day, I've still not tried their Cask Martin single.
Oh, right.
That was a single barrel?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got any.
I was watching you try that and going like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
fine. I guess I'll just...
It was really good, that one. Yeah. As you'd expect. I'm sorry you missed out on that.
Well, that happens.
Was there anything else we missed out on? No, not really. Yeah. But no, that Cardrona, I'll find you a sample of it because it is amazing. And if anybody gets a chance to try one of those darker Cardrona ones, I mean, the regular ones are great too, don't get me wrong. But that darker one was, wow, next level, really surprised. And they were not making a big deal out of it, They just made me try it. And I just happened to read the dates on the bottle. Like, they didn't advertise it as a 3-year-old gin. You do the math for when it was barreled and when they took it out, and like, you're kidding me? This is a 3-year-old gin. Yeah. What about it? What are you talking about? What about it? It's a 3-year-old barrel-aged gin. Like, come on.
I couldn't think of anybody else that's doing anything over a year.
Yeah,
let
exactly.
alone 3.
Yeah. So, if you see that around, give it a go. Yeah.
Did you have a highlight as well, or what are we saying? Highly commended.
Let me just have a quick scan. I mean, Bluff was a big one this year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, we went to their launch event here, which was fun, but also just great gin, clean and crisp, saltiness to it, which shouldn't be there, but it's there, and beautiful bottle, good team, yeah.
Yep, no doubt. I think it was also, for me, it's the episode that we did about smoked gins and how you push that flavour, and so your smoked Moose Lake. I think I've still got some of that at home. And yeah, that's one I love pouring for my gin drinking friends to go like, oh, well, what do you think of this? And it takes people by surprise. And it's also that when you add tonic to it, far from actually diluting that flavour, something unlocks and it just amps it up a bit.
It's fun, eh? Yeah.
It divides the room.
Yeah.
And not everybody is a fan.
Yeah.
But I love watching their face when they take that first sip and go, oh, what's that?
What? Absolutely. Every time I pour it for somebody and I'm like, listen, this is a 50-50. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Like, I don't care which one it is. That's fine. Yeah.
I also want to go on the record and just say my episode about liquor laws and prohibition, I had so much fun putting that together.
I was going to say,
and then laying all of that out.
The 3-part history of New Zealand liquor and liquor laws, like, wow, what a lot of effort went into that.
I mean, look, in between work, the podcast, and trying to raise a family, I have no idea when I'm going to write that book, but I know that there is a book in there to be written.
There's 100% a book there. It needs to be written. So maybe we can put this through an AI. Maybe it can do it for you.
Yeah. What can't AI do these days?
Yeah.
Okay, how about we go into this next spirit?
All right.
Because we've had a lot of fun looking back. I've got a couple of notes about the year ahead, and honestly, looking to the year ahead is not that fun. So let's kind of do this.
So this was the second spirit you poured blind.
This is the second spirit that I've poured blind for you.
All right, this has got to be a rum.
Oh, okay.
Is it? I don't know what it is, but a rum is probably most aligned with what I'm thinking here.
I can see how you would arrive at that conclusion.
Okay, so I'm wrong.
Trying to be diplomatic.
Is it? It's got some heat to it.
Yep, it is. I think that is the one clue that I'll give you. It is a little step up from 46. Not heaps, but from memory, I think it's at 50.
Okay, so is it a whiskey?
No.
Really? Okay, so not a whiskey, not a rum.
And yes, this will be the... It's tasty, but give me some tasting notes there. What have you got?
Well, I get a bit of wood tannin.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What is it? It's like a Werther's original caramel, like a sort of burnt caramel almost.
Oh, yeah.
Not a sweet caramel.
Do you need some water at 50%? Is that going to help you a wee bit?
That'd be good.
Okay, let me get that.
And I'm just, the dark, like it's a dark color. It's definitely like a bit of a dark sweetness to it. I'd say like dark plum chocolate almost. I definitely smell wood. I smell wood. There's wood in this, right?
Yes, it is barrel aged.
Okay.
I mean, but that looking at that, it's a golden colour, amber. Yeah, a goldeny amber kind of.
And this is New Zealand.
Yes, made in New Zealand from local ingredients. Again, notice I've said ingredients,
Oh dear.
as in I haven't said grain,
Okay. Right, and it's still not a rum.
and it's still not a rum.
There's something in it, and I can't. It's almost like a spicy grass note to me, like a almost like a rye spice. You know, not a grain, but like a
Yeah. Definitely, I get that. I get that caramel, absolutely. Wee bit of hint of that spice in there as well. It's. What do you think about the? I don't know. Can you describe more the flavors that you're getting when you have a try? Because it's probably the style of spirit is probably more North American than anything else. And as far as I know, these are the only people to be doing this commercially in New Zealand. I could be wrong on that, but that's as far as I know.
I definitely get some pretty raw wood in there. That's a lot of what I'm getting is that sort of almost French European oak sort of flavors to it. I have no idea. I'm actually stumped on this one.
I mean, considering you pulled something out of the bag by just naming the rifters out of there. Okay, here we go. Big reveal. This is Elsewhen Singularity Applejack. Reserve cask there. So, an Applejack made by Rough Hands in Nelson, and it is distilled from apples.
Wow. I have tried this once before.
Oh, you have?
I will say, well, it was at a show, so that doesn't really count. But that's really interesting. Yeah, and I did notice at the show when he was telling me about it, they were like, yeah, it's a very more American style. You're going to kind of get some of these sort of bourbon notes and stuff like that. And like that's what I'm kind of getting is those wood notes and stuff like that, I don't totally get apple, but I guess like burnt, you could almost get that like candy apple. That like burnt.
Definitely more of a candy than like a fresh or green apple, yes.
Yeah, I think that's sort of where I was getting with that Werther's. That was sort of heading in that direction. Interesting.
It is very interesting. It's a beautiful... they've gone way out there with their branding. Their branding is something else, and I think it reflects that whole idea of that this is very different to everything else that is being done. They play off this whole space and time and all of these kinds of things. So their branding is way out there, and also they tell you that this is a decanter bottle. They encourage you to keep and reuse. It is a glass cork. So, yeah.
That's nice. It's a really nice bottle. What do you get out of this one? What's sort of where are you heading with this?
I definitely that kind of candied apple.
Toffee, almond. Yeah, that could hit it for sure.
Yeah. You're reading the notes on the back now.
Yeah.
But it does, as you'll see from the stickers of the back, it does fairly well at competitions.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know what you would put it up against.
In
the category.
Category of its own, really, down here.
It is. So they do. It's like they do elsewhere, and elsewhen.
No.
No.
So elsewhere is a different brand. That's gin. Elsewhen. This is
this is elsewhere. No, but this is not their standard release, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
So this is a limited release that they do annually, where it's bumped up to 50%. So there's a different label that they have for their standard, and this is their special release.
Yeah, 50%. Could definitely see that for sure. It's really nice. Yeah, that was a hard one for sure. That was a really hard one. Actually, I do have one other one we could really quickly try for Keen, which I know you won't have tried.
Oh, okay. Are you going to? Is this going to be a blind pour, or is this just a try? Oh, it's going to be a blind.
So we got some more glasses?
I'll tip some of that water.
We'll hit some more, right?
And then reuse this one.
You don't know what this is, right?
No, I can't. I cannot see a label on that bottle.
Perfect.
So I do not know what that is.
All right. There
Okay.
you go. And I'll just do a bit of the same. Why not?
Okay, it is certainly darker in colour,
Yep.
but golden and golden amber. I do not do enough describing of colour, but given that
That's true. Yeah, we don't.
more people are listening than watching this, really do need to get better at that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's got an awesome nose.
Is this a rum?
Nope.
No. Oh, okay. It is quite a sweet nose. That threw me off. Yeah, a sweet nose, but also like a toffee vanilla.
Yeah, definitely some of that, eh?
Okay.
Like almost if you had one of those like toffee caramel creamers in your coffee or something like that.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. It is. No, I did just rinse the glass out, but
Do you take a guess on percentage?
I mean, yeah, it's not a whole heap of burn. I'm not seeing a heap of bubbles in the glass.
Mm-hmm.
Between 43, 46.
Okay. Any ideas at all? This is fun. We should do this more often.
Well,
We fail. We're terrible.
oh yeah, at doing things blind. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay. Oh no, you take. But you know what this is.
I do.
Yeah. Right.
I do. Now, this is something that most people probably wouldn't have tried yet, but it is available. And now that I've tasted it, yeah, I'm feeling like it's giving it away more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, certainly having tasted it, the heat isn't there, so I'm definitely thinking it's below 46. And maybe it is because I'm coming off hitting that 50% Applejack. Yeah, it's.
I get like a big raisin note.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big raisin. Stick your face in the raisin bag sort of smell and taste.
Yes. It's sticking your nose into the empty box of raisins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do get that. And I think the other clue around ABV, it's not particularly thick. Wasn't a whole heap of texture there.
And it's dry, definitely.
Yes, quite dry.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I don't know that we've had any of this sort of spirit yet on the show.
I think that raisin is one that pulls through. It's not bright red fruits. It's very much kind of like a dried fruit situation there. Definitely more raisin and sultana than going down the lines of like a peach or a plum or a sherry kind of cask or anything like that. Okay, no, what? Now, you're saying it's not a rum, but equally you've been very guarded about the language, so leading me to believe that it's perhaps not a whiskey either.
That's correct, not a whiskey.
Okay, well, at least I didn't fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Not a rum, not a whiskey. And look, if you had another Applejack on the table, I would be floored.
I can promise you it's not.
Well, look, unless it's that 3-year-old gin that you were just telling me about. No, because the colour is telling me that unless it had been in the barrel for, it's not a 10-month-old aged gin, and certainly the flavours are not giving me that as well. But equally, it wasn't sweet enough. There wasn't enough of the vanillins in there to make me think that it was some kind of corn whiskey or bourbon or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, I'm stumped. What have you got?
This is a brandy.
Oh!
So, Aitken and Aitken. So this is Chris. He's just started up this micro distillery down on the vineyard, down in central Otago. And this is made from 100% Pinot Noir.
What's raisins? It's grapes.
Exactly. That's why I thought when I said raisins, I might give it away. But yeah, it's 100% Pinot Noir from Wanaka. This was a he sent me a sample before he released it, but it is available now.
An aged brandy from Wanaka.
Yeah. So there you go. Huh. All sorts of new stuff popping up.
40.2. Yep. That checks out.
Yeah. I think it's actually, I do think it's a bit viscous. Like there's certainly a bit of thickness to it, but it's dry at the end for sure.
Very, very dry at the end, and I wasn't expecting to be given another sample after this, and I would suggest that people go back and listen to our episode where we talk about how to plan a whiskey tasting. You would absolutely not pour something that is 40.2% immediately after something that is 50.
No.
You would build up to that, and so yes, I was expecting that we would finish on this. So yes, that is not a fair and accurate representation on my part.
Oh, come on, it's all right. Looking ahead, yes. I think it is exciting. You said you weren't too excited, but we've got a few episodes lined up which are quite exciting. I don't know
all I really wanted to say about those is that we were recording them at the end of last year.
Yeah.
We were recording them in the shop. If you happen to hear some Christmas carols and you are later listening to these in February and March, please, we beg your forgiveness.
It's actually quite clean audio, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
so it turned out pretty good.
Great.
Yeah.
Happy with that.
Yeah.
But they were very, very fun, and there's definitely people that distilleries that we have talked about, but brand new interviews with brand new people.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be really fun to release. They were fun to watch back again as well. What else? What else do you want to do this year?
Oh, well, Dramfest is coming up.
Yes, yeah.
And there are, I've had a look at the run sheet, and there are more Kiwi distilleries being represented there.
Yep.
Now, Herrick Creek doesn't have a stand,
no,
but we will be there. Tom, can we get, and I know that it's a very short run-up time between now and March, can we get Distil-Nation T-shirts made up so that people can recognise us?
We could probably do that, actually. Yeah, we should be able to do that.
I reckon at the very least.
Yeah.
Distil-Nation T-shirt, and if we could, and this is workshopping in public, a QR code on the T-shirt that people could scan that would take them to the Spotify.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, let's do it.
I reckon we should do that. So we will absolutely be there. Please come up and say hi. It is my hope that if we can catch people at a moment when they're not too busy, or maybe in talking to people in between the doors opening and actually being allowed to pour, I'm hoping that we can get a couple of conversations in.
Yeah, we'll bring the mobile recorder. It'll be terrible audio, but we'll see what we can do.
We'll see what we can pull together. Maybe it'll be an episode about the snippets of conversation that we have with people on the day. So
yeah.
I'm hoping that we can get something there.
Also, if you're coming to Christchurch for Dramfest and you're not not going on, well, even if you're going on Friday, the Juniper Collective and Spirit Spoke, we're having a New Zealand whiskey afternoon.
Hey!
Just to celebrate Dram Fest coming to town. So we're going to have free samples, some discounts on some whiskey. I'll be pouring. Jeremy from Kiwi Spirits, he'll be pouring.
Oh, good lad.
We've got Cordrona. We've got, I think we've got New Zealand whiskey collection. In 1919, they're sending us some whiskey to sample. So, yeah.
Oh, more. Well, this might be a sneak. More than last year's Goleta.
I don't know at the moment. I know
okay.
for sure we're getting Goleta. I don't know if we're getting anything else, but we'll see.
Okay, no, that sounds good.
So yeah, if you're in town for that on Friday, come see us at the shop because we'll just be shooting the shit, enjoying some New Zealand whiskey, and doing it in our space before. I'll be there on Saturday. You'll be there on Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and
Both.
Sunday.
So that'll be fun. Come find us.
We'll be wandering around, hopefully in Distil-Nation t-shirts.
Yeah.
Please do come up and say hi. This next part, this probably isn't the fun one, but looking ahead, the new American administration has said that they're going to start imposing tariffs.
Yeah.
And so a tariff is a tax paid on imports, and they're kind of designed, whether or not they're actually that effective, and most people really think that they aren't. The goal is to kind of make imported goods more expensive so that people are pushed to buy local, which basically is going to make it harder for those Kiwi whiskey companies wanting to export into America, of which there are a couple now, there are a few. It's going to make that harder. Combine that with just the general world economic situation. There is a bit of a whiskey loch in Scotland and a whiskey glut in America. They have been producing a whole lot more. They've been ramping up as demand globally has been ramping up for whiskey, and that demand is starting to slow.
It has slowed dramatically.
Yes.
Yeah, around the world. Yeah.
And so we are seeing that in a number of examples here, and one that we have already mentioned, but an example of that is the Glenmorangie 10, the original, is going to be the 12. Yes, it's also going to put that on, if you're to look at its competitors, which like the Glenlivet and the Glenfiddich, both of their entry levels are 12, and Glenmorangie's now going to be on a 12, competing with them. But yes, we are seeing, those age statements are going to start coming back on as all of the non-age statements and the younger whiskies are going to be held on to for longer, aging a bit longer. That also, the fact that, things are great, whiskey's more popular than it's ever been, demand goes up, but that's, I guess, the issue when you're making whiskey is the fact that, demand is ramping up now, we will start ramping up production now for product that won't yet be readily available for another couple of years. So, trying to meet that equilibrium there. But the fact that a whiskey lock, a whiskey glut, there's more whiskey over there than is being consumed, demand is falling, how much harder then is it going to make it for New Zealand producers to push overseas?
Yep.
And then especially if those bigger names, if prices start to drop with the overseas stuff without any kind of protectionist measures here in New Zealand, look, cash is king and people make decisions with their wallets, and if that equivalent American whiskey or Scottish whiskey starts to come down and they're trying to make a decision of whether or not they support local or whether or not they support their wallet, I'm predicting tougher times ahead for New Zealand distilleries.
Yeah, me too, absolutely. And it's exciting for, to think like, oh wow, our favorite whiskey might get cheaper, but it's also just remember you've probably lost a dozen jobs or something like that. to get that cheaper price potentially from your Scotch distillery, even though they might be owned by Diageo or somebody big. There's still real people making your whiskey, and a lot of people losing their jobs already, and more people will lose their jobs, and it's sad to hear that. So anyway,
Yeah, it is a tough
Debbie
time.
Downer. Yeah,
Debbie Downer. I know I have asked the question of people on previous episodes last year, like in our conversation with Ashley, Juniper Collective, for example, and I'm saying, hey, have we reached the peak? We have definitely reached that peak, and we're starting to come down the other side now.
I think we reached it last year for
Yeah.
sure. Last year, probably mid last year, even maybe a touch earlier, and it's been coming down since.
Certainly for looking to gin, even. It's fewer new releases and certainly fewer new distilleries, and I think we are going to hear this year of not just gin distilleries, but certainly some, because I think they were the most numerous.
Yeah.
But we're going to hear some stories of some closures.
Yep, absolutely. So support your locals anyway. I know it's easy to shop cheap, but
Yeah, it is tough. So yes, there are some exciting things coming up, but I think the one message that we have remained keenly constant with throughout our podcast is the need to support local.
Yep.
Buy from your local backyard, because real people, real jobs with money that is staying in the community and going back into your community.
Yep, exactly. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think I have talked for long enough, and yeah, it sucks that this is the note that we're getting out of here on.
Yeah.
A really fun look back, a bit of a fun look forward, and a bit of a it's a new year, and there are some very uncertain times ahead for a lot of people and a lot of companies.
Yep.
But no, please, Tom, hype us up to get us out. If you want to get in touch with us, you've got a cool new product that you want to talk about. No, I mean generally, if you have got a cool new product that you want to talk about, how do people reach us? How can they find us? How can they come on the podcast?
Absolutely. So if you're a distiller or brand owner, come reach out at Distil-Nation NZ at gmail.com or on socials at Distil-Nation NZ. You can also reach us by our own social channels at Herrick Creek, at Juniper Collective NZ, or at Discovering Drams.
At Discovering Drams on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Love it. And it's been fun. It's been fun catching up.
Oh, it's been way too long.
It has been. And we'll get some more of these good chats going. And I'm really looking forward to the future of what we get to talk about. I think now that the hype is over, as we said, now we can talk about some of the more nitty-gritty, the nitty-gritty.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I think that'll be great. So.
And I think, look, as much as I love when brand owners pour for us and we get to talk about all of that, talk about their spirit that they've made with them, and we do a lot of that on the episodes that will be coming out. Pouring something blind and just going like, I don't even know what category of spirit this is.
Yeah, that was quite fun actually.
That was a challenge, and I hope this year we can do this a couple more times.
I think we'll do that again for sure. That's quite fun.
Well, here is to 2025 and to Distil Nation. Cheers.
Cheers.